lesson, we will learn about abstract method and abstract class. So what is an abstract method? An abstract method is one which has no body, which means there has been no implementation which has been provided to such a method. And for a method to be abstract, a keyword abstract is added in front of the method name. Okay. So two things. First, this method has no body, which means no implementation. And second, a keyword abstract is added in front of the method name. Let's look at a few examples. So in the first one, we have declared a public abstract void hello. So notice we have put the word abstract here. Second, instead of an implementation here, we have put a semicolon. So this is how we declare an abstract method. So this is an OK method. So this is how we declare an abstract method. If you look at the second example, public abstract void show string str. So like any method, an abstract method can take parameters. It can take any number of parameters. And notice in this case also we have the word abstract here. And we do not have an implementation. Instead, we have a semicolon. So this is okay. Let's look at the third example. Public abstract int void add int x comma int y. So as we discussed, like any method, it can take any number of parameters of any type and it can return a value. So it can return a value. It's not necessary that it has to be of the type void. So public abstract int add int x comma int y. So this is also okay. Let's look at the next example, this one. So public abstract void print, and then we have an implementation. So this is the implementation of this method. Now what is the problem here? So we have used abstract and we have given an implementation. Now if the method is abstract, there cannot be any implementation. So this will give us a compile error. And how would it look for there to be no compile error? So it should have been public abstract void print, and there should have been no implementation. So if we had defined it this way, this was fine. Or the other one should have been that there should have been no abstract word here because we have given an implementation. Okay. So depending upon what we wanted to do, this is how we would have removed the error. Let's look at the next example, public abstract void join. Now we are seeing these brackets here, so which means there is an implementation. Now there is no line within the implementation, but there is still an implementation. So again in this case we will get a compile error. And there are two ways to remove this compile error. Either we remove the word abstract from here, or we remove the implementation and put a semicolon like we did here. Okay, because this is equivalent to an implementation. Let's look at the final example, public void mult int x comma int y followed by a semicolon. So in this case, do we have an implementation? No. But because there is no implementation, it should be defined abstract. Have we defined it? No. So again in this case we will get a compile error. How can we remove the compile error? We should define this method as abstract. Okay, so if we had defined this method as abstract, there would have been no compile error. Okay. So what is the purpose of an abstract method? As we have studied so far in this lesson, an abstract method cannot be used directly as it has no body. So we know it has no body, and because it has no body or implementation, we cannot use it directly. A subclass will have to provide an implementation to the abstract method for it to be used. So we will need to define a subclass which gives an implementation for it to be used. So why do we define an abstract method? So there are two main reasons why we would define an abstract method. In some cases, we don't know the implementation of the method right now, so we would define it. Or in some cases, every subclass will have their own implementation. So maybe if we look at an example, suppose we define a class shape in which we want to define a method called area. Now the implementation of method will be different for everything. If it's a triangle, it will have a different implementation. If it's a square, it will have a different one. If it's a circle, it would have a different implementation. So in such a case, we would declare the method area in the class shape as abstract, and each class that extends it, each subclass, would provide a different implementation to it. Okay. Let's look at another very important concept, which is an abstract class. What is an abstract class? An abstract class is a class which has abstract keyword in its declaration. So where we put in the declaration, so like we say public class, if we say public abstract class, it means it's an abstract class. It may or may not contain abstract methods, so it does not matter if it has or does not have any abstract methods. However, if any method in a class is abstract, then it is compulsory to declare it as an abstract class. So if any method is abstract, then it is mandatory to declare it as an abstract class. And the most important part about abstract classes, we cannot create an object of an abstract class. So this is the reason an abstract class also exists. We cannot create an object of an abstract class. Okay. Let's look at some examples of an abstract class. So here we have defined a class named add, and we have said this class is to be abstract. So no problem, we can declare any class to be abstract. And is there an abstract method in this class? Yes, there is an abstract method in this class, which is add. Does this method have an implementation? No, so this is fine. So class add, no compilation issue, this will compile perfectly fine. So no issues here, we have defined this as an abstract class. There is a method in the class which is abstract, which has been properly defined. The other things have also been properly defined. So this is a perfect class definition. Then we are running some code. We are saying add a1 is equal to new add. Now will there be an issue here? Yes. Why? We will get a compile error here. Why will we get a compile error? Because as we studied, you cannot create an object of an abstract class. Object of an abstract class. So we cannot do this. So add is an abstract class, so we cannot create an object of an abstract class, and hence it will show this error. So we will get a compile error. Let's look at one more example. So here we have defined a class data1. What does this class have? It has an int array numbers. It has another field names, which is of type string array, and then it has a method change, which is abstract. So is there any problem in this, or will we get a compile error? We will get a compile error here. Why will we get a compile error? Because there was an abstract method. Now if there is an abstract method in a class, it should be defined as abstract. So the compile error we will get is class data1 should be defined as abstract, because there is an abstract method in the class. So how can we correct it? So the correction would have been to put the word abstract in its definition and make the class an abstract class. Okay. Let's look at one more example. So here we have declared a class numbers. In this class numbers, we have three fields x, y, z of type int. We have a method add, which is fine. It has a method, it has an implementation. Then we have a method mult, which is also has an implementation. Perfect. And then we have defined this class as abstract. So can we define this class as abstract? Yes, it is up to us. An abstract class may or may not have abstract methods, and we know fields can never be abstract. So this is fine, it is our choice. So unlike the previous example, wherein we had a method abstract, then the class has to be abstract. In this case, it is our choice. So this is fine. So this is okay. Now let's look at this code. Numbers n1 is equal to new numbers. Now will there be an issue here? Yes, here we will get a compile error. Why will we get a compile error? Because we cannot create an object of an abstract class. So although in this class there was no abstract method, there was no issue, but because it was declared as abstract, we cannot create an object of an abstract class, we know that. So here we will get a compile error. Okay. So are these two concepts about abstract method and abstract class clear?